1, 2, 3, come on!
Well, hello there, and welcome back to Let's Think Geek. As always, I'm your host, With the Flow. Pleasure to have you back. This is Let's Think Geek, the channel where we talk about all sorts of geek culture and fandoms, from the obvious to the not so obvious. We'll get to those eventually. Welcome back to those of you that have been here before, and to those of you that are just joining the conversation, welcome. It is wonderful to have you. Hopefully we can start a good dialogue, teach each other some things, and share the things we love together. So that being said, let's start getting into this a little bit. So, today, I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite characters from one of the Star Wars properties we'll go with, and that's the Clone Wars. This is where she got her start, and she eventually transitioned into novels and comics, made some video game appearances, and then appeared again in Rebels. So without much further ado, we'll be talking about Ahsoka Tano, the apprentice and Padawan to Jedi Knight Anakin Skywalker, and later, Rebel Sleeper Cell. Oh my goodness, I just realized how bad I slaughtered and butchered that. Wow. Enjoy my flub. But Ahsoka Tano is a great character. She is one of those very well written, very dynamic characters who has a lot of struggle and growth through the course of her kind of presence in the universe and how she develops. She's initially introduced in the Clone Wars movie. And yes, there was a standalone movie that kind of introduced the concepts that would come in the TV show down the road. And in that, you find out kind of how young Ahsoka really is. A young teen, 13 years old is what she's said to be at that point. And she's coming out of the Jedi Temple and being placed in the middle of war. And it's just a really interesting point, I guess, to kind of start a character. Anakin had a little bit of time to kind of let himself build to this point, and then war broke out and he got forced into it. Whereas Ahsoka's entire Padawanship takes place during the Clone Wars. She begins her training once it's already began, and is introduced to Anakin on a battlefield. And it really sets this interesting dynamic, and I was sent a meme about this recently that somewhat prompted this video, but there's this kind of strange, almost theme of Anakin perpetually trying to re-give Ahsoka the childhood he's robbed because he recognizes that he never had a childhood, and she is now not getting that childhood. And the show, in a very strange way, is like Anakin making war a fun, acceptable part of her childhood and still trying to teach her how to get past this. It's not just Anakin teaching her. You've got Obi-Wan, you get, great masters like Yoda, some of the extended universe council members that you don't really get to see much movie time. They really get to explore more of their actual character, their lessons, what they have to offer in the Clone Wars TV show. Ki-Adi-Mundi, Mace Windu, Koth, Plo Koon. I mean, oh my gosh, there's some great Jedi that appear in this series, and it makes it a little more tragic to see the final showdown between Palpatine and these great Jedi. When you watch Clone Wars and you see this, it is kind of disjointing. I 100% agree with that critique. But let's get back to the star of our show, Miss Ahsoka Tano. She's introduced in the movie. You kind of get to understand that she is just as strong-willed as Anakin and a very good counter to him. She wants explanation. She wants the whys, not just the do it, but why. What are we doing this for? What is the better cause? Who does it actually better? And it allows for a lot of really cool exploration into ideas of growing, hardship, friendship, struggle. And Ahsoka kind of hits a lot of those. We're going to go with sitcom, teen child issues, quarrels with friends, disagreements of ideas. As time goes on, she experiences more and more. Even in, I'm going to kind of hit you guys with a few of what I'd consider the key episodes or key story arcs, because the Clone Wars is actually perpetually broken out into micro stories that are part of a mini story. So each part is usually one part of a 3 or more part whole story arc. And so you'll start at episode 1, 2, and 3, and that's one story broken into 3 parts. And then the next segment of story will be 4, 5, and 6, so on and so forth. And so a lot of these have what are, key story arcs, if you will, that will have little micro stories within it. It's a really interesting format. It offers a lot of diversity in storytelling, location, characters, because you get these snapshots of where they are, and then in the next series, you might see where Obi-Wan is, or you might see where so-and-so is, or what's going on here or there. And it really helps keep the show just moving and fresh. Wonderful characters. I digress. One of the really big story arcs to begin with would start at Season 1, Episode 19, Storm over Ryloth. That's one of the first episodes where Ahsoka is given command of a clone platoon and completely fails the mission. She falls victim to her own pride and ego and sense of, I know better. I've got this. I'm the bee's knees because I got put with Anakin and I'm already on the battlefield, and she fails. And it creates a really interesting tension between her and Anakin, where you see him trying to grasp with that almost mirror of his own stubbornness and his own pride and how he needs to teach that. And ultimately she learns the lessons from Anakin that he's unable to learn there, and their paths diverge slightly. And it's not that there's not good episodes that feature Ahsoka or good story arcs that have to do with Ahsoka. I'm going to kind of hit you on some really big critical story points and that really explain it. I would encourage everyone that likes Star Wars or even remotely enjoyed the prequels, watch the Clone Wars. It will make you love them. It brings so much depth and color to this universe and to the characters. I mean, Anakin's storyline is, I don't want to say wholly different, but so much more enlightened and available through the actual Clone Wars series. It's less of a, he was here and now he's here, what happened? That's what happened, is the Clone Wars. Yeah. But one of the next really big story pieces, as far as like Ahsoka Tano's advancement and progression, really comes in Season 3, the episodes 7 through 10 arc that begins with the episode Assassin. And it's kind of an interesting nod. And remember that Clone Wars came out after the prequel trilogy had been completed. So we had The Phantom Menace, we had Attack of the Clones, and we had Revenge of the Sith already. And then the Clone Wars came out, which is happening between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. Hope you're all still with me. If not, I'm so sorry. Feel free to start it over, run it back, maybe it'll make more sense. Throw a comment below. I apologize. But anyway, Season 3, Episode 7, Assassins. Ahsoka starts having these visions of Padme's death, which is kind of a mirror and a nod toward the Episode 3 visions that Anakin has of Padme's death. And Ahsoka constantly has these little flashes and snippets, and it's very interesting to watch her get the advice that Anakin is given later when he's having these visions, and she takes the advice to realize that these aren't set in stone. The future is not guaranteed. It is not assured. That it's just a possibility. And to an extent, allowing that fear of that possibility will drive that eventuality into reality. And Ahsoka's ultimately able to learn how to let go of this sense of anxiety of what if I'm wrong, what if I'm right, what if I do understand the future, and just exist. And obviously thwarts the assassination attempt, or we wouldn't have Episode 3 because Padme would die. Now this next one, if you don't even watch the series, but you just want to know more about Anakin, the plot line of the Chosen One, Obi-Wan, and just like help really get a visual conceptualization of what the Force is and what is going on in these storylines, this is the story arc that really lays it out there. And it's what's called the Mortis arc. And it is Season 3, Episodes 15, 16, and 17. Now, I'm probably going to actually do a whole video unpacking just those 3 because they're packed. But the brief synopsis is Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Ahsoka end up on a Force planet with a character known as the Father, who is the controlling point between two entities, the brother and the sister. The sister representing the light side, the brother the dark. And they're the literal embodiments of each side of the Force. And their struggle to get Anakin to replace the Father who's dying so that balance can be maintained between these two. And it explains the concept of the Chosen One better and what's going on there. That's an episode that George Lucas himself, that arc, he was very heavily involved in, very conceptually involved in. So were a lot of the original writers and crew from the writing side of the Star Wars universe. It is an amazing series. And you learn a lot of this tension and what's to come. And there is somewhat of a snippet in there that ends up leading to one of Ahsoka's later appearances. But we'll get there. Stay tuned though, because like I said, we're probably going to be doing a video here very soon on that 3-story arc, because oh my gosh. Again, that's season 3, episodes 15, 16, 17. Even if you just search Star Wars Mortis, Mortis, it'll know what you're looking for. It's that big of a deal. But then after that, you get somewhat of a break from a lot of the bigger story plot points until you get one of the biggest, if not the biggest piece of Ahsoka's entire storyline. And that's in season 5. And it's technically a 4-part because it was a 3 before and then the season finale. Anyway, it's episodes 17, 18, 19, and 20. I'm not going to worry about the names of them, but oh my goodness, it's one of the big divergences in a way. Ahsoka Tano is ultimately framed for murder by another Jedi who has gone rogue and lost her way. And as Ahsoka is trying to unravel this mystery of who this killer is, she's being framed for it. The story style is, per the writers, literally a nod to and an homage to the movie The Fugitive, Harrison Ford. Great movie, wonderful cinematic tie-in. Not going to get too long-winded there. But through this story arc, as Ahsoka's trying to figure this out and doing her best to be diligent, honest, and forthright, she's framed. And the Jedi somewhat turn on her, and the Republic turns on her, and she ends up on trial for a crime she never committed. It's revealed that another Jedi did, and she confronts this Jedi, and she realizes that this one that had lost her way, Bara Safi, somewhat had a point. She was kind of right, that the Jedi were never meant to be a military force. They were keepers of the peace, and that they had lost their way. And this led her to biting off into the dark side more. A lot of complexity and nuance in the story. Won't fully unpack it, but Ahsoka's ultimately left at this point where at the end, well, now we believe you. Now that you've proven yourself, we've imprisoned you, we've threatened to expel you from the Order, blah, 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 blah. Just come on back. And Ahsoka sees through kind of the veil of the Jedi at that point and what's really going on there, and realizes that that's not her place in the universe, and that even though she is a Force sensitive and has a wonderful connection to the Force, it's not where she's meant to be. That this level of betrayal and blindness is just too much to really just keep getting along to get along. And so she, of her own accord, chooses to leave the Jedi Order. And it's one of those points where it really primes Anakin, because the Jedi have turned on his Padawan in a way and forced her to leave him. And that's yet another loss that Anakin suffers. Well, this whole time he has a secret relationship with Padme and is suffering this kind of long, slow bleed of loss from never really being able to achieve his happiness or what he wants, and live in this system of the Jedi Order that Ahsoka is able to see through because of all these incidents that lead up to it, where she's taught to think for herself, investigate, be inquisitive, do this, do that, and in the culmination of it, they turn on her. And she has to face this fact of, it is just me, and I need to make the right choice and not do something that I can't morally and consciously do. And it's a heartbreaking episode, but oh my, it just made me adore the character of Ahsoka so much. To stand so heavily on principle in the face of your friends, your mentors, be able to say, you know what, I can't do this. Peace out. And she leaves the Jedi Order, and that's really the last of her we see in the original run of the Clone Wars. Now, that's not the end of her storyline, though. There was another animated series that came out called Rebels. And in Rebels, it takes place after A New Hope, the original Star Wars movie, and it's about the growing of the Rebel Alliance. Features some really great throwbacks. You get some episodes with Princess Leia, you see some Chewie, you get some Lando. You get a lot of those rigid Tridge guys, bit younger, tremendous amount of fun, great storyline. Well, through the first season, there's this contact called Fulcrum, Agent Fulcrum, and she's kind of shouldn't say she, spoiler alert. This contact is constantly feeding the Rebel Alliance information and helping guide the rebels. And you find out in season 2, episode 10, The Future of the Force, that Ahsoka Tano is Fulcrum. That is this point of contact. And that's when she returns to the series. And she doesn't just return as some, washed up has-been. She's not in hermit mode. She shows up ready to rock. She's been running a guerrilla resistance in the underground. She has continued her training. She has achieved this Grey Knight balance of, I'm not a Jedi, but I'm no Sith. I simply am the will and extension of the Force. And her return is amazing. And you start to get a little bit more of Ahsoka through Rebels at that point once you find out that she is Fulcrum. One of the next big episodes in that is going to be season 2, episode 18, Shroud of Darkness. And Ahsoka leaves the Jedi Order, goes on her own way, and does her own thing. She ends up surviving Order 66 because she's not associated with the Jedi anymore. And she has a lot of guilt from that. And that's kind of explored through this, where she's like, if I had stayed, I probably would have died, but there's a chance I could have saved my friends. And she's kind of at this point of trying to grapple with, should I have stayed or should I have gone? And this wonder of, well, what about Anakin? What about her former master? And she talks about the moment she remembers feeling him cut off from the Force, that Anakin died. And through this episode, she starts to realize that no, he didn't die, he changed. And she figures out who Vader is in that episode. She comes to this realization that, oh, snap, that's Anakin. And it really causes that conflict in her. And it all culminates in season 2's finale, episodes 21 and 22, Twilight of the Apprentice. Again, amazing. Oh my goodness, astounding episodes. Would highly recommend. But that culminates with Ahsoka finally refacing Vader in her prime, as Fulcrum, as her own master of her destiny, and she refaces Vader. And there comes a moment in it where she is trying to kind of break through to him and get through to him and really try to save the person that she believes is still in there. And they duel, they confront, and there's a beautiful scene where he more or less gives her the out, and he's like, you stay, you die, you go, you have a chance. And she looks him dead in his eye and says, I won't leave you again, and chooses yet again her conscience and morality over necessarily the easier path. And that episode ends in this kind of cliffhanger-esque episode, and it's divided fans for a long, long time. Because you're never really shown Ahsoka dying. You're never shown her living. And there's quite a bit of this gray area in the way the duel itself is presented and closes out. You know that Vader leaves injured, but you don't know if Ahsoka actually makes it out or doesn't. I'm firm camp Ahsoka lives. There's another episode, series of episodes called The World Between Worlds. And that's a bit more of a heady concept, which we're not really going to delve into that one today, because it doesn't wholly play into the Ahsoka Tano main story, if you will. It does in a way, but it also is just a lot of conjecture. But Ahsoka's just one of those characters. As you watch her grow and develop, she's very easy to identify with. She's very easy to start to understand and get where she's coming from, what's going on with her, because she is she deals with very reasonable, understandable struggles, loss, fear, anxiety, betrayal, so on and so. I mean, there are so many situations that she goes through where ideas and philosophies are explored beautifully, where her handling is very mid ground. She's very non extremist either way. But I just wanted to take time to kind of reshed light on one of my favorite characters from this era, and especially in light of season 7 of the Clone Wars airing here, like right now. It's coming out, one episode a week, and there's supposed to be some story arcs that come in this that are going to fill in just a few more holes on the Ahsoka Tano mythos and story, and I am so excited. And so I thought I'd put out a little something to help refresh some memories, help jar some fun stuff about a wonderfully fun, exciting character. Someone who is so cool to explore and just fun to watch. So if you're curious, I'm going to go ahead and leave a list of these episodes down below. I'm not going to link over to them. Watch them on whatever service you got. I'm pretty sure it's all on Disney Plus at the moment. Google Play Store. I don't know. Track it down if you're interested. It's worth the watch. Rebels is a great series. Clone Wars is amazing. And the new season is already off to an amazing start. And so we'll probably be doing a little more Clone Wars content. Maybe a brush up there, maybe some theory crafting. Hell, we might even do a speculation video and see if I can guess how it ends. My guess is that Anakin becomes Vader, Palpatine takes over for a while, and then there's going to be a convoluted story about their kids. If I had to gamble. We'll see. We'll have to see how this all plays out. Anyway, thanks for tuning into this rant and ramble, history lesson, whatever you really want to view it as. Enjoy swinging by. If you have any questions, comments, anything you want to unpack, any parts of her story you're familiar with, have more questions on, down below. I respond to comments. I love to chat with you guys. Follow me on Instagram with the Flow69. Don't forget to click the like and subscribe button. I'm pretty sure that's like there-ish. Yeah, I think so. Anyway, thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out. Enjoyed the conversation. Until next time.